William Harris concluded, based on a full book-length analysis that you can read, it's worth reading, that 10 to 15% of the population was literate.
Well, unfortunately for Dr. Ehrman, he actually just gave us a quantitative figure that helps us show that the Gospels were more probably written by eyewitnesses. You might be thinking to yourself, if only 10% of the population could write, wouldn't the probability that the Gospels be written by a disciple or any of the disciples be increasingly low? Like for the 12 disciples, 10% to the 12th power? Well, not so fast. This low-end statistical figure might sound daunting, but it actually serves in favor of traditional authorship once we take into account rigorous probabilistic statistical methodology. For those of you into mathematics or cryptography, you might have encountered the birthday problem, which is a counterintuitive paradox that states that the probability of at least 2 people in a population of 23 and at least 23 will likely share the same birthday. Furthermore, the most robust case for traditional authorship leverages the common practice of scribal penmanship composing works for authors in group settings, as was the case of Paul's epistle to the Romans and the Gospel of Matthew and John. I recommend seeing Stephen Boyce more regarding the scholarship. Now, of course, Jesus had more than just his 12 disciples, like the 72, James, Paul, and their associates, but let's do the bare minimum calculus. What's the probability any one person was literate? Not all 12 people, but any of 12 people in a population of a 90% illiteracy rate. Well, first we need to formulate our problem using the rule of complementary probabilities. In our application, the complement of at least one person in 12 people being literate is all of them being illiterate. Next, we take our 90% illiteracy rate from a 10% literacy rate and apply the 12th power to it. This gives us our complementary probability that represents all 12 people being illiterate, 28.25%. Taking the complement of that gives us our primary probability that any one of them is illiterate, which gives us 71.75%, or roughly 72%, a more likely than not chance. Of course, there is much more nuances to this that one has to consider, such as the socioeconomic backgrounds of the New Testament authors, literacy rates for rural Galileans versus Hellenistic Jews, and the non-random selective process of people becoming disciples or New Testament authors that further complicate the problem. But all things being equal, ceteris paribus, this 10% literacy rate actually gives us more evidential ammunition to believe in traditional gospel authorship. Shout out to Tim Howard from Worldview Mastery for pointing this insight to me, and please follow and subscribe for more content like this.